How's it going? So there was something that happened a while ago and I forgot to actually mention it, and it was a consultation call about my dystonia. Now, if this is the first video you're watching of me, then just a brief little thing about my dystonia. I've got cervical dystonia, which I've had now for about 12 years, 13 years, I don't know. A long time, more than 10 years. And from the very beginning, I've been fortunate enough to be able to get on and continue with my life without any form of medication or treatment. And so understandably, I'm not really high on the priority list when it comes to meetings and checkups and things like that. So much so that I have probably only seen a neurologist and spoken with a neurologist 3 times in the entire time I've had dystonia. So we were coming up to me having one of my biannual meetings with the neurologist earlier this year, and instead of a meeting being set up, instead a phone consultation was set up. And I completely forgot about this, because the only reason I remembered this now is because I actually had a survey sent through to me 2 days ago to ask me questions about what I thought of my experience and the service that was offered by the hospital with this call. And to put it blunt, it was shit. I spoke to a nurse, not even a neurologist, who asked me a series of questions, which I'll come back to, and then said to me, okay, I'll write all these down and I'll share them, and you might get a call if necessary at a later date. Long story short, I didn't get a call. I explained to the person who I was talking to, who I'm still not 100% sure who I was talking to, whether they were they worked with the neurologist or whether they were just a random nurse, because seriously, that's anyone could have done the call. They asked me how I was, obviously, usual sorts of questions, and then they asked if I was any worse, and what I tried to explain was that no, I wasn't worse. However, my dystonia changed. I still have the pulling sensations. If I let my head go now. So I can still feel, you can see the muscle in the neck. There. But what you might have noticed, there was this tremble, and the tremble is the thing that's become more predominant. And so I mentioned this. I said, well, the turn isn't quite as bad as it used to be, but what I've got whenever I'm tired or stressed, or if I'm uncomfortable, or if I focus on it, I've got a tremble. And this can affect not just my neck, it can affect my arms, my hands, and my movement in general. And so I explained this, and I really did expect to have a follow-up call or someone to get in touch with me, but no, that was it. So I made that pretty clear on the survey that it was shit. They said, do you think that it's a good idea to have a phone call? And I said, well, considering it's a movement disorder, it's kind of useless having a phone call when you need to actually see the person, what is happening to them, because one person's tremble could be another person's, seizure. It could be so extreme. So when a person says that they got trembles, my tremble isn't that bad, but it's still something that I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have a fucking tremble. So I would like to have seen someone or even spoken to the neurologist, but nope, I didn't even get that far. So yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that. It's been a bit of bit of a funny week, not the greatest week, and I think it's kind of a mix of the aftermath of the trip to see my family and the time off that we had, and sort of coming back to work. The weather took a turn for the worst as well. We sort of went back to the awful crappy weather that we're used to. I mean, today is sunny, but it's incredibly windy. Very windy today, so and once again I was thinking about my projects and what I'm going to do and what's next in the horizon, and I've got a sort of comedy podcast in mind as a project of my own. It won't be connected to Dystonia, it won't be connected to Warriors of Dystonia. It'll literally be the other side of my sense of humour and things like that. That's something that I'll come to. I'm also continuing with a writing project that I started years ago, so I'm working on that. But with regards to Warriors of Dystonia, what I've put out is that if people would like to share their stories with me, they can either write it or record themselves telling their story. I will then put that into a podcast. And with regards then to Warriors of Dystonia as a whole, social media's got you by the balls, because if I don't keep making posts or sharing things, Warriors of Dystonia sort of drops off the radar. And I know that people are still discovering it, and it's great to see people still joining the Facebook group and still sort of following, and I can still see that there's sales of the book, which is awesome. However, I also know that if I was to sort of step away for a month or two, the way the internet works and the fast pacedness of it all and engagement and all that, Warriors of Dystonia sort of drops off the radar. So I've always said that I was going to take a step back. I am still taking a step back. Every now and again I'll sort of jump in and things, but for my own mental health, I really do need to do a bit of work on some of my other projects. Anyone that's out there, anyone artistic or creative, or has got that urge to be putting things out there, will understand that I'm sure your brain is like mine. It's always thinking of multiple other things that you could be working on and that you could be doing and that you like to do. I've always said from when I was young that if I want to write a book, or I say, wouldn't it be good to write a book? I'll write a book. If I say, wouldn't it be good to present a comedy podcast? I'll create and I will present a comedy podcast. Which is good and it's bad, because it feels like having a full-time job outside of my full-time job. So right now I'm sitting and I'm looking at this list that I've made of things that I want to get done, and I'm also very driven to getting these things done quickly. Well, not so much quickly, but just getting them done. And then I think to myself, once I've got that done, I can take a break or I can stop for a bit. But that break never comes. But yeah, the past few days it had been pretty tough. Head hadn't been in a great place, but it seems to feel a bit more on track today, and that's probably because it's Friday. Can't beat Friday, can you? Right. Anyway, goodbye.